G'day, Jeff here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run through this video that the other business did for me, and I'm going to talk about what I would like for you to do differently, and I hope it all makes sense.
There are 17 different opal.
So firstly, what I would like is to actually start with our logo. No, don't worry about that. Let's start with the map.
There are 17 different opal fields covering a vast area of inland Australia. Now, the reason why we have opal here in Australia is because of a series of unique geological events.
I think this really stays on the map way too long. So I think the point where she says the reason why we have in Australia, we should start with this other animation that starts with Australia. Starts with Australia, attached to Gondwanaland, and with the shallow inland sea.
Firstly, during the Cretaceous period, which was between 144 million years.
So we're talking about Cretaceous period. So there's certain points where in Gondwanaland, we see Australia where it's actually underwater. So obviously it covers a long period, 144 million years and 65 million years ago. So you've got to choose the point in time where we have Alexi on the phone, please. Not yet. Where Australia is underneath the water, and also attached to Gondwanaland.
And 65 million years ago, there used to be a vast inland sea in the middle of Australia. Then after the...
Okay, and then we can see it slowly. So you could then go to this part. I kind of like this part.
Period, Australia started to separate from Gondwanaland, during which there were periods of intense sustain.
So we go back to the map. We have Australia, inland sea, and then we start to see it separating from Gondwanaland. And then at the point where it says...
erosion. Periods of intense sustained erosion.
Sorry, we'll go back a bit.
Then, after the Cretaceous period, Australia started to separate from Gondwanaland, during which...
So at that point there, really... we finished watching Australia separate from the map. So then we go to this like a volcano, and it talks about what's the result, okay, of that. We have...
There were periods of intense sustained erosion, resulting in chemical weathering. One of the results of this deep...
Okay, so that's all good. I like that. So you just do your version of this. The next problem I have really is it shows two pictures of silica here. Just do sand. Do a picture of sand. Okay, one, not two pictures.
Weathering was silica being dissolved from a clay mineral called kaolinite.
Okay, I like what they've done there.
Then, at a later date, water would leach through...
Okay, so I really just don't get these red arrows. So think about it. Water is leaching through. So just show water seeping down. See how you see these different fault planes? These are supposed to be Earth fault planes. So just basically don't do so many. Just do a nice simple showing a fault plane and water seeping down the actual fault plane between the two bits of Earth.
The Earth collecting silica particles and then continue to seep and trickle down the side of a fault plane until being trapped in impermeable.
So you need to kind of show the water going into like an empty cavity, okay, and then the opal would form. And what would be great is if you just pan into the empty the cavity and see, and that doesn't look like opal, so make it look like a colored. But what they did there is kind of okay, but I would like to actually see water flowing into one of these little faults on the side there. Horizontally, going down the fault and then horizontally going into the rock and then into the cavity, and then we see the color with different. We see in the cavity different colors, like an opal.
empty voids or cavities. And if this solution was rich enough in silica,
I
the
will give you a
opal would
better photo
start
to use
form.
than what they've used.
The reason why we get the play of colour in opal is because the silica has regrown into tiny silica spheres that are the exact same size, forming.
Okay, I like that. Now, what I would like to see. Okay, so let's just watch this. So they do that, and then that we had the visible light bouncing in and then
compact
bouncing out. I don't want to see that. And then it goes on to this next image.
three-dimensional grids. Think ping pong balls in a box. As the grouping of spheres gets larger.
Okay, and then they go to the second image. We don't need to go to that second image. Just stay on this image, okay? And what we see is we see the visible light going in there and then bouncing off into this grey arrow. Don't do the bouncing off grey arrow just at the moment. So visible light goes in there.
Think ping pong balls in a box.
Okay, and then what happens is the silica spheres, as the silica spheres get larger, we go through the different colors of the rainbow. So how about we start small and then we go all the way up, start at indigo, which is so think of a rainbow, just go through the same exact, just Google what colors you see in the rainbow, start at the very bottom, which is indigo, and then we go to blue. And then just as they get bigger, this arrow, which bounces off, changes, okay? And then that would be great. And that would basically
as the grouping of
cover
spheres
the
gets larger,
whole
we go through the different
whole
colours
video.
of the rainbow. Blue and green is the most common colour.
Okay. I like how they do
Indigo
this
is the
last little
rarest,
bit.
And red is the most valuable.
Okay, so do that last little bit, but do it on this. Do it on this image. Okay, and then it basically finishes. All right, thanks. Let me know if you got any questions.